If you're looking for spoilers, you're in the right place. Hey! For the movie Blow the Man Down. So just pay attention and give us some space. It's time for spoilers for Blow the Man Down. The following podcast, there be dragons you see. Hey! For the movie Blow the Man Down. So continue with caution and listen to me. Here be some spoilers for Blow the Man Down. Spoilers! Way, you have been warned. Here be some spoilers for Blow the Man Down.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your fucking host, Miguel Magusto.
How the fuck are you?
I'm doing fucking great. Can't believe
We're
this
still
guy.
on Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, you got a little cough, but we're going to try to power through this. It's going to be
just a warning to everybody.
fun, hopefully, yeah.
I had a wicked fever. Not for the cowbell, sadly, over the weekend. If you saw the movie review that we did on Thursday, I had a mask on, and then it turned into a fever, and now it's possibly turning into bronchitis, question mark?
Bumcritis.
Yeah, bronchitis is what I should have said, like Jesus
oh my
Christ.
Goodness. Yep.
But anyway, so I'm going to probably cough here and there, so sorry about that.
Yeah.
But Mike, should we talk about what we saw, I feel
we
like?
should talk about what we saw. I feel like you didn't see as much as I did, so you should go first.
So because of the following that I had previously said, I didn't get to see shit this week because I was half of it I was dying. But start of it, let's hit it up. We got Young Guns, which was a movie that I heard passively in like a conversation like a week or two ago, and then it popped up in front of me on Hulu, and I was like, I guess that's kind of a sign I should probably watch that.
Yeah.
It's a little Western oldie with a bunch of names in it: Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, good old Terry O'Quinn, Terrence Stamp, a bunch of other ones too. But yeah, this is an '80s movie.
Yeah.
With all those named people in their teens. 80s movies are different, man. People will go talk about like how great they were, and then you watch it and you're like, I don't know if that was that good or not.
Yeah, great is not the word I would use to describe 80s movies. Unique, sure. Interesting, sure. But it was kind of the time when studios were trying to figure out how they could capitalize the most. So you got a lot of gratuitous nudity. You got a lot of stupid plots where it's spectacle over plot. So, I for one think the 80s is the most overrated decade for both music, movies, everything, presidents. Yeah, I think the 80s are a desolate time. But
so the movie itself was about just a pack of kids who's kind of like basically adopted by this one dude in like the old Western times, and they're just like a bunch of brats whose families either like died or they're just free roaming little rats, and he tries to make them better, and then there's this group of dudes who kill that said guy, the adopted guy, and then now they're just a group of kids with no father figure, and then they're trying to avenge the guy who adopted their there's a really interesting concept within it, because like one of the kids is turns into the notorious Billy the Kid, basically, through their actions. But the character who is Billy the Kid, oh my God, was he fucking annoying. And he's the reason the plot almost happened, or basically happened. besides obviously the guy dying, but everything after, he's the reason everything went the way it did, and it was severely annoying. But yeah, I mean, other than that cool concept of like how like this Billy the Kid was, notarized, I guess. Other than that, it was just very forgettable for me. Yeah. So there's that. And then we watched The Menu, which there's a video review for that up on the YouTube.
Yes.
See what we thought about it. It was possibly delicious, possibly spit into a can just for taste testing only.
How was the mouthfeel on that one?
Oh, God, I want to cough.
Yeah.
So, Mike, onward to you. What have you watched?
I watched 10 movies.
Damn.
First one I watched. This time of year is always when like I start watching a bunch of movies.
It's that comfort weather to do so.
Yeah. So the first one I watched is a British TV movie from the 1980s, actually, called Threads. And this is quite possibly the most terrifying movie I've ever seen because it could actually happen. It's essentially a movie about a nuclear holocaust and how England, because of its alliance with the U.S., gets bombed by Russia with a nuclear warhead. And it's just kind of like... for those who have seen Shin Godzilla, it's very much like Shin Godzilla, where it's like a procedural where like things happen. It's the government trying to get a hold of things, and then also like how people are affected by it. It's kind of like documentary style, but not really. It's more information than it is like specific scenes with things laid out. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. All I know is that I will stop trying to live if there's ever a nuclear holocaust where I am. Because living sounds worse than dying at that point. But yeah, who knows? We'll see.
It's a concept that I've thought about a lot too. I'm like, do I really, like, even like a zombie one too? Like, if that happened, it's like, do I really? What's the point?
Do I have the energy for this? Like,
yeah.
If I can't see movies, what's the point?
So let's say like I do survive, and then it still doesn't stop in the next 2 generations, but I'm just screwing the kids.
I know.
And that sounds weird out of context, guys.
Yeah. I know for a fact that if there were a meteor about to hit the world and everyone was going to die, I would not be one of these assholes who's trying to get to the spaceship or the underground bunker or whatever that they only let rich people into, because what's the fucking point? Why are you wasting your last time in traffic? Just enjoy your time that you have and accept your fate. Stop trying to survive, because guess what? You're not that important. No one's that important. Even the rich people who have the money to survive are not important. So that's a cheery thing to think about. Then the next movie I watched was for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. I believe this is going to be the February edition. Andy Warhol's movie called Vinyl, which is an adaptation of A Clockwork Orange. Of course, Andy Warhol being the famous artist who drew cans of soup and Marilyn Monroe and stuff. Let's just say that artistic talent does not transcend mediums, because this movie was ass. It was horrible. It was terrible. It's essentially one shot, but like locked down, and it's a very narrow window. Like the guy can't move 5 feet to the left or the right. It's in someone's basement. It's horrible. It's horribly written, horribly acted. Everything about it is bad. The only thing that's impressive is I had no idea that they made hour-long reels, film reels in the 60s, because it is one entire cut and not, like, it never cuts. I don't know how he did it, but that's the most impressive part, but that's probably not even that impressive. There's probably something easy to explain about that. Yeah, don't watch Vinyl. It's horrible. It's terrible. Why are we liking things just because famous people made them? That's what I want to know.
Consider avoided.
Then you actually missed one. You and I watched Decision to Leave, a Korean film.
I did miss that.
Yeah, Korean film that we saw at the Bryn Mawr Film Institute. This was a neat little thriller about a police officer who kind of falls in love with one of the victims that he doesn't, one of suspects of a murder case. And kind of a cool femme fatale type thing with felt very old school, very Hitchcockian is what I told you on our way out.
Very creative too.
Very creative without giving anything away. There's one part of it where like it could have been easily another way, and it wasn't. It was very creative. So, yeah. Speaking of Hitchcock, the next movie I watched was also for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, Frenzy. This was his first movie to not be censored by the Hays Code. For those of you who don't know, the Hays Code predated our current movie rating system here in the U.S. With rated G, PG, PG-13, R, X, etc., or NC-17 now. There's no longer an X. And so this was his first movie where like he could just make what he wanted within reason because he wasn't being censored. There was going to be a rating system instead. And that was interesting to see, but it also... you could tell he didn't have any restraint because there's some gratuitous nudity that kind of feels tasteless in it. Not that I'm surprised knowing Hitchcock and his ways, but it is what it is. It's still a solid movie, but it's weird. I feel like he did better under the Hays Code. I don't know. It's hard to explain. When you work 40 years under the Hays Code and then suddenly you have free reign to do anything, you're probably going to be excited and do things you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then we watched The Menu. Like you said, there is a review for that on our YouTube channel. Then I saw Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, stop motion animation. This was a 1 week release in theaters, and I saw that because movie theaters are great.
Where'd you see it?
Oaks.
Ah.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was at Oaks, but... That was cool.
I had no idea it was even out.
Yeah, and I thought about inviting you, but I think you had mentioned you were still feeling sick. Or
I was
when
dying.
I asked you if you were... Yeah, I think I thought you were dead or something.
Yeah, I did not answer the phone almost at all this weekend.
But anyway, this is the best adaptation of Pinocchio I've ever seen. I've seen quite a few. I've seen at least 4, and this is the best one. It takes place during Benito Mussolini's reign in Italy. So it's a little different from the book, but it also feels the closest to the book. It's hard to explain. You just have to see it. But everyone should check out Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio when it's out on Netflix. Or, if you're listening to this in the past, see it in theaters, but you're not because that's not how time works. So yeah, great movie. Then I watched Blow the Man Down. We'll get to that in just a second. Then I watched the Christmas Story sequel, A Christmas Story Christmas. About as dumb as you would think it would be, but it had as much heart as you think it would be. It was a nice little sequel that was 40 years later.
Yeah.
No one really asked for this movie. It didn't really feel like a cash grab, even though I'm sure it was. So as far as like a cheesy Christmas movie could have gone, I have no complaints. It is what it is. It was a fun watch. Then I saw the movie She Said, which is, of course, about the journalist who wrote the article that kind of started the Me Too movement in 2017.
So many movies are coming out, and I had no idea they were.
Yeah, that's why that's why I see a lot of movies because I'm trying to keep up. But yeah, this was a good movie. It was well acted and well written, but and I kind of like this for it. It's not very much of a spectacle. But I think they did that on purpose to avoid sensationalizing anything.
Yeah.
So they kept it very basic filmmaking, very basic facts over, expanding anything too much. Because as horrible as it is, the Me Too movement is probably still very attacked by dumb people, and which is a shame. So they're probably trying to avoid that as much as possible. So it felt very real. Because of that, it kind of was slow at parts, but I also appreciate it for not being like, I love Spotlight, but in that scene where Mark Ruffalo was like, it's the whole system, man. I feel like that probably didn't happen. So it doesn't sensationalize anything. So that was really cool. But overall, it's a decent movie, but nothing that's gonna like shock you. It probably will get some nominations for acting and maybe writing, but beyond that, probably nothing. Then last night I watched Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone because I could.
Yeah?
Yeah. So it came in it's okay. It's not good.
No.
The one with Carl Urban is fantastic.
Leagues better.
And I didn't think this was going to be that good. It is what it is. I wish it was more. I don't know. I feel like it would have been better if he kept his helmet on. As stupid as that sounds.
That was all Sly's decision, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I like Sly, but he's definitely got an ego. But yeah, that does it for the movies I watched. Let's get into
Slow down, partner.
Ooh.
I've got some bad news.
Oh no.
I actually almost forgot about this because I'm a dickhead, and then I quickly remembered while you were naming some movies. So yeah, we had another passing happen this week. I think it was actually yesterday. But Jason David Frank apparently died from what they are assuming is suicide. He was pretty big for a lot of kids, at least for sure my age. Younger and older, at least in like a 6-year span or so.
And me as well.
It's crazy to see because he, at least by suicide, is crazy because he was so happy to be like a hero to everyone, like all the fans. Like he seemed to live every day just to have someone come up and be like, "Oh, you're the Green Ranger, or the White Ranger," and he's like, "Yeah, man, that's me, man." And it's crazy to see this pop up in the headline, how he did it.
Yeah,
it just goes to show that you could never really, see inside the heads of every person.
Yeah, you don't know what everyone's going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was a huge one for me because growing up, the Power Rangers movie and obviously the show was a big staple, and my mom fucking hated it.
Yeah, but she likes all those stupid movies she made you watch.
So it balances out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I had a life-size cardboard cutout of the White Ranger, so it definitely hit home for me as well.
Dude was badass, man, and he changed a lot of kids' lives, and a lot of adults still love it. They know everything about the White Ranger, the Green Ranger, all the other Rangers, and it's mostly because of this dude right here.
Yeah.
So it's a huge honor that he did that for us, and we're gonna honor him.
Yes. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
So with that being said, let's get into Blow the Man Down.
Can you start over? I'm confused.
It was confusing.
But you had to do it right.
Oh no. I lost control with a brick.
You said it was a harpoon.
So what are we gonna do now?
Should have just called the police.
Hello? Priscilla Conley? You have a small skiff, right?
Could get a little grody. A body wash up on the rocks.
Enid's business is bringing shame to the town.
I try to protect these girls, but I can't do everything.
What did she mean by that?
It used to be real bad around here.
Get away from me!
If it's not Enid's girls, then it's our own daughters. We wanted something better for you.
By starting up.
Go on, drink up. Drink up. A lot of people underestimate women. That's why they can get away with a lot.
Mary Beth and Priscilla Connolly attempt to cover up a gruesome run-in with a dangerous man. To conceal their crime, the sisters must go deep into the criminal underbelly of their hometown, uncovering the town's darkest secrets.
Yes, it is written and directed by Bridget Savage Cole and Danielle Crudy, or Cruddy. Pretty sure it's Crudy. It is starring, Sophie Lowe, Morgan Saylor, esteemed character actress and fugitive from the law, Margot Martindale, June Squibb, Marceline Hugo, Annette O'Toole, Linda Sherry. Who else is in there? We got Eben Moss Bachrach and Will Britton. And yes, this came up, of course, in streaming roulette. I actually looked it up. I saw this on March 24th, 2020, so I was correct. It was one of the first movies that I watched in the pandemic, which was another year where I watched 365 movies. Because what else was I going to do? Yeah, I don't really want to go into my thoughts too much. I kind of want to hear your thoughts right off the bat.
Yeah.
Before I kind of plant a seed on you.
I didn't know what to expect. I know, obviously, there's the synopsis and everything, but I was really just hoping for a lot of sea shantied seamen, and not in the way that I was really hoping. It turned out to be just a bunch of guys singing and crazy womanly cast of a criminal underbelly, which I thought was like some sort of Boston Batman type shit, because Margot Martindale's character was like the Penguin, and everything else around her was like her henchmen's in cohorts. It was wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie, it was interesting. It's nice to see a movie where kind of the women are like the head honchos and the brains. Mm-hmm. But I usually hate seeing when the guys around are just dimwits. But luckily we had the one officer. Which,
they're not all
pretty
dimwits.
cool.
They're either just, part of the system, which the one cop was, or just kind of like completely doesn't care, indifferent to the whole thing. So yeah, it's not like, you see a lot of commercials for home products where the man is very stupid, and that's because they're selling it to women, which is sexist in itself, even if the man's being the dumbass. But yeah, I agree. It's nice to see a movie where everyone's human and reacts like humans and not like cartoons. And then, like you said, the women are taking charge on both ends, kind of controlling the good and bad of the seedy underbelly of this fishing town in New England. But yeah, I agree completely.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I pretty much enjoyed it. I mean, especially that it was like a female casted and just led movie.
It's almost as if they should make those more often.
They should. And men should see them.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought it was good. I will say it's going to be not easy for me to talk about.
It is a strange one to talk about.
It kind of just flows in a way where not much is happening, but there's so much going on, if that even makes sense.
It's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking.
In a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. But yeah, of course, we follow these two sisters. It starts on the funeral for their mother, so it kind of establishes what their world is like right away. And you, bit by bit, you see this underbelly of the town because one of the sisters gets attacked by a man who has blood and tarp and knives and stuff in his trunk. And
a little bit of hair, too.
A little bit of hair. So, like, she's trying to run away, and then he, hunts her down. We're never fully given the complete feeling that he's going... I don't think so, at least, that he's going to be violent.
He's kind of just following her.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, in her eyes, as a young woman who's a little intoxicated, when she just saw blood and shit... obviously she's going to think, oh, this guy's going to kill me.
Yeah, so it does a really good job at, like, once that guy is dead, kind of for a little bit making it be like, maybe that was like an animal or something, because, it's a fish town. It's also in the Northeast where people do a lot of hunting. But there's also the hair, so it does a really good job at planting seeds of doubt on both sides for you. And the sisters, played by Sophie Lowe and Morgan Saylor, just have such a great chemistry together too. They really do feel like sisters. They're not overly loving. They're kind of they bicker with one another. They're fighting, but there is that sense of love there, and they play that really well. And the way that this just slowly unravels and shows you a little bits of information at a time is like really well done. And that's probably my favorite part of it, is that it's not just like one problem and then you know what needs to happen and then the rest of the movie is that happening. It's just like piece by piece putting the entire story together, involving seeing how Margot Martindale's involved as the I don't know what you would call her, the pimp kind of, I guess. She owns a bed and breakfast in which sex workers go. And then you find out she's involved. So it does a really good job at just like slowly bringing everything out. And then, you know, while...
I'd say world building, but it's really kind of town building.
Yeah, town building for sure. And it feels very claustrophobic in that sense. Like it never feels like any of the roads lead out of town.
Everybody knows each other.
Everybody knows each other.
Everybody waves hello to each other.
Yeah, it never feels like leaving town is an option. Which is like an incredible thing to do in such a short amount of time, you know. It's never even it's brought, even when it's brought up, you're like, that's not an option. Like the one sister, Mary Beth, played by Morgan Saylor, she's like, oh, I'm getting out of here, and it never feels like a real option for them. Which is a really cool effect for the whole story. So yeah, it's got that whole claustrophobic small town feel, with these events that should be happening in a big city, but it's a small town, which makes it that more vulnerable because everyone knows each other. It's like, you know, the second that a body is turned up, everyone knows who it is. Like they don't even need to identify it because they know who it is.
But yeah, it does a great job with the town building, especially when obviously these girls have no idea what the fuck is going on with the whole prostitution thing, and then they find out that their just recently deceased mother was in the whole cohort too, and they find out that she was one of the I guess a group of women decided, you know what, these fishermen, they're getting awfully rowdy and being pieces of shit. We're going to control these bastards with sex. And then, you know, so there's just a group of these women who started this whole thing. And I guess like 40 years later, maybe not 40, whatever. Roughly 40 years later, here we are. And then, so they find this out, and then it's nice to see the two sides of like which side some of the women are on, and then there's definitely a word. It's not pimp for her.
Madam. It's just called Madam, I guess.
Madam.
Like,
I guess I could.
The leader
see
of a brothel. Yeah, Madam.
Yeah. So like it was cool to see like the sides of the ones who were trying to get out and, you know, make a good life for their kids, instead of, you know, sticking with how they grew up and survived. Because they don't have to do that anymore. And the one who's stuck in it and who wants to continue to do it and is forcing other girls to go through it. It was pretty cool to see that aspect, and kind of the not the danger of it, but the cost of it. It was like these girls had something to lose. So the madam held it over their heads and stuff like that, and how, I guess, powerful you could, even though she used Paul Mitchell products, gross, how powerful she was in this small town, holding, you know, shit over girls' heads like this, and obviously with a dead body lingering around, how she could easily do things to these girls and have things done to them. So I mean, as far like as a small town like movie, it did have impact.
Yeah, and it definitely the other older ladies who were once friends with Margot Martindale's character, they always talk about like they doing what they had to do and everything, and now they're all out of it. So you get this sense that like life used to be different in that town, and then once they no longer had to do it, everyone stopped except for Margot Martindale, who kind of got power hungry for it and wanted the money, and that caused her to go through, darker means with the main antagonist, or not the antagonist, the MacGuffin, I guess, which is the man that the one sister kills, Gorski, using him as kind of like a heavy to kill and do her dirty work for her and everything. And it's builds this like past that we never see, which I kind of wish we did, but like at the same time, it's kind of cool that we never see it, where you could kind of surmise for yourself what went on there. Why were they in such a bad place like 40 years ago that made them start this brothel or whatever and get in on this illegal doing. And then the whole thing culminates to this ending where like the girls are like sure that they're going to get caught at some point, and you just hear the like all these women singing the same song, and it's kind of eerie, and you just see June Squibb rinsing out the cooler of the that they put the body in, and it's kind of like they were all in on it to clean up their own mess with Margot Martindale being dead now that we're talking about spoilers. They're trying to put an end to everything, and that includes covering up the murder and saving the daughters of one of their friends who was in it as well. And it's really just this like, that is we always joke about Yas Queen moments where it's sometimes
a let's go girl moment.
Yeah, yes, let's go girl moment, where it's like a lot of times they're like super forced, and it's just like, oh yeah, let's give something for the girls to cheer about, where this is just like, yo, that's kind of fucked up, but you go, girl.
That old lady was looking at them, and I was like, damn, she's cold.
Yeah, cold, just rinsing out in front of police, rinsing out, one of which is her grandson, rinsing out the cooler that a dead body was in. Like, that is the hardest shit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Grandma fucks. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I really like it. It's also got some comedic moments as well. Not as many as I remember the first time I watched it, but it's a dark comedy for sure. And of course the interludes with the sea shanties were just kind of added a nice layer of world or town building to it. I really enjoyed it.
It's funny that these girls were kind of just victim to circumstance in a way, and it led to like this whole plot of just crazy development. I think the biggest nitpick I have about it is, of course, it obviously felt like a small town, but it really only felt like there was 3 properties of a town that we got to see, and I wish we saw more of it. Like, we only obviously saw the girls and the prostitution thing, and then we only really ever saw the cops, and I wish there was more of, like, the town itself, like, around it. But, I mean, even that's, like, it's not that big of a deal, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a product of its budget, probably. They didn't really have too much they could do with their budget. I can't find any budget information here, but I'm sure it was low. I agree. But that also kind of helped add to the claustrophobia of it. Well, like it does take away in some aspect, it also adds in another aspect. So it's kind of like a give and take, I feel. But yeah, I kind of agree with that as well.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I have to talk about.
I don't really have anything else to talk about.
It's a really straightforward movie, and you know, there's a lot going on and not much at the same time.
It's a nice modern noir with just being New England in general. I really enjoy it. I think it's a hidden gem for sure, and more people should check it out. Yeah. So that does it for a review for Blow the Man Down. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. Glenn, odds or evens?
Even.
Okay, that means I go first. So yeah. So I get to decide first whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf. I really like this movie. I think it's a great film. I think it does the town building really well. It kind of invites you into this town and will not let you leave, and kind of makes you a little nervous throughout the majority of it, while also having a really good story. And really think more people should check this out. So I'm going to say yes, it should go on the shelf.
Put me in a tough spot here, I feel. I feel like I liked it. And I feel, you know what? I'm gonna give it points here. I'm gonna give it some. What I was going to say was, I feel like I liked it, but did I like it enough to put it on the shelf?
I gotcha.
So I was thinking about my own thoughts and then just didn't let everybody else know. I'm sorry I didn't share with the class. But I'm gonna give it points here because it is a You Go Girl movie. And I don't think we have enough of those on the shelf. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the shelf as well.
More importantly, it's a You Go Girl movie that doesn't feel super forced. Yes. So, yeah, I'm glad to say that Blow the Man Down does go on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaid. And that brings us to our assignment for next week. It is the final rotation of 2022, and as always by that I mean the past 2 years, we have done a holiday spectacular where we pick a holiday movie. Doesn't necessarily need to be Christmas, but needs to be wintry themed. You know, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, if there is a Kwanzaa movie, other winter holidays, you know, those things.
The ones that are out there.
Yes, so we will be picking 3 holiday movies in the next 3 weeks. Of course, it is my turn first. And I have one that I feel like the fact that it is wider streaming today, even though I checked yesterday, it expanded to Hulu today. That's a sign that I made the right choice, if you ask me.
Perfection is a thing.
Yes. So, this is going to be a deep cut here. In 2010, there was a Finnish movie that came out called Rare Exports.
Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale.
In the depths of the Korvatunturi Mountains in Finland, I'm assuming, 486 meters deep lies the closest ever guarded secret of Christmas. The time has come to dig it up. This Christmas, everyone will believe in Santa Claus.
It's the most magical time of the year, when traditions are honored and the youngest among us still believe in the spirit of the season.
We found something else than just plain rocks and dirt.
This mountain is like a giant ice box.
For storing what?
Drill deeper. Bear the dynamite. You have a grave to rob.
Minkälaiset sudet tekee? Hyvää joulua.
Isä! Vetti on viety!
So essentially this movie is about Santa Claus being hidden away, and then people dig him up, and then bad things happen. So it's a Christmas horror movie, as we all like. It is directed by Hjalmari Helander. Is written by Hjalmari Helander, Juuso Helander, and Petri Jokitranta. Starring Jorma Tomila, Oni Tomila, Peter Jacobi, and Tommy Corpella. And that is going to be available on Hulu again. Full disclosure, I have seen this. Full disclosure as well, I don't remember much of it except for the end and vaguely that I liked it, but I don't know if it is good enough to be on the KFR shelf. And I've wanted to rewatch it.
We're going to find out together.
Fair warning as well, Santa Claus is really creepy in this. That is one thing I do remember.
Oh, man, I'm excited.
Yes. So that is going to be Rare Exports on Hulu. That is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_film_review. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I'm Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch a Finnish movie. I'm so sorry, Finland. I couldn't help it.
What the fuck was that?
Until we watch a Finnish movie called Rare Exports. Ho, 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 everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.